Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And today I'm so honored to be joined by Roger Brooks. He's publisher, three times best-selling author, and loyalty and payment investor. He shares unique insights on how authors can transform their stories into lasting influence, from crafting compelling narratives to building their personal brand and successful launching their books. And the other thing I would also like to share that he was the first one who helped me to write my book as well, The Algorithm of Life. So I'm so honored to have him again on my podcast. Thank you so much for joining, Roger.
Thank you, Ambreen. It's so great to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's like we're connecting even after a long time. So good to actually have this interaction and conversation. Thank you so much. So I know that I've just given a brief introduction that you're a publisher or something, but tell us about yourself. That what do you do? What is your work? And how did you start the journey? And then we'll talk about your latest book.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been fortunate to being an entrepreneur, be in a lot of different uh, parts of business. And I'm in the technology space. I work in payments and loyalty. I've done that for 25 plus years. And we mainly help large organizations and small run their customer loyalty programs. So
Hmm.
whether it's a retailer or a gas and convenience store or a grocery store, we work with those companies to help uh, bring their loyalty programs to life. Side by side with that, over for the past 7 or 8 years, I have been publishing books for others, and that started out as a part-time opportunity, uh, but over time has turned into a full-fledged business. So we have about 20 people on our team, everyone from editors to designers, and um, those that help with marketing. And we just love to help bring people's books to life, just as we did for your book, several years ago. And
Yes.
the reason I got into the business is because I'm a writer and I love to write, but I couldn't find a publishing partner that I meshed with, one that really cared about my book. And therefore I decided to start a publishing company, and that's what we did.
Yeah, that's amazing, and you're doing such an amazing work. It's like I know that how you guide authors to write their books and also help them to publish the book, which is actually very difficult. I mean, the entire uh, process is very difficult actually, or maybe may not be difficult, but it has different process, different layers, and especially for the first time authors everything seems so overwhelming. Like for me also, when I was trying to write my book, everything was new to me. I didn't know what to do. So thank you so much for all the help. It was really good. So tell us about your new book. I know that when we used to have those mentoring session. You mentioned that you've been working on the book, which is very close to, and that's why like when I saw that your post that you published it, I said, oh, I think I have to get you on the podcast to share your story on that. So tell us about it.
Thank you. No, I have a copyright here. It's called The Sacred Order. It
Wow.
took about 14 years for me
Wow.
to finish it. And the reason is, I mean, it's an awful long time. Of course, I didn't work on it full time, but I took my time, and there was a lot of research that went into this book. Um, I was just so particular about every scene and building the characters. And when it's historical fiction, so I really wanted to make sure that the reader had a great experience, and that when they were reading it, they really couldn't tell between fact and fiction. So that's what took me a long time. But I also had to learn to write fiction. It's a whole different skill set. It's one thing to write nonfiction, and I've written a few of those books, but fiction's a whole different game. And
Yeah.
I had a mentor for myself. I hired a writing coach early on, and he really helped me to understand, how to tell a story, through the dialogue of characters. And
Yeah.
to me, that was the hardest part, to do
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so the book has been out now for about 6 months, and I'm just really pleased that finally I was able to get it out to the world.
Yeah. So that's really amazing that you touched upon the historic thing because so just tell us a bit about your book more, that what exactly part of the history you captured and what fascinated to actually go into the historic era.
Yeah, sure. So at the time when I started thinking about writing fiction, um, my wife and I took a trip to Italy. Our daughter was only 2 years old at this time. This was back in 2004. And I was reading the Da Vinci Code at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. I just loved the mystery of it. I loved how Dan Brown was able to, you know, make you want to open a browser and Google things, and really try to understand what was happening within the story. So I just had in the back of my mind, if I ever did write a book of fiction, that I wanted to be this type of style.
Wow.
So on that same trip, uh, our my wife's cousin who lives in Italy, she lent us their car, and she gave us some ideas of where to go. And she said, "Please, whatever you do, if there's one place you go to Assisi. You'll really love Assisi." So we
Mhm.
listened to her, and we went to Assisi, and it was one of these hill towns that the town is at the very top of the hill, and it was magical. It was almost like going back in time. It's a medieval town, and the structures and the streets are pretty similar, if not the same, as it was 5, 6, 7, 800
Mhm.
years ago.
Mhm.
And Saint Francis of Assisi, he's the most famous person from that area. Um, I knew who he was, but I started researching more about who he was, and that became the impetus of the story. I wanted to tell his story, but not in a religious way. I wanted to tell it in a story of fiction. So that's what I did. So I started developing, the characters, and um I I went a step further, and I actually selected one of my friends, who's one of his paintings is right there behind us,
Wow.
coincidentally.
Mhm.
Anthony Brunelli is his name,
Mhm.
as the main character. So I selected him as
Wow.
the main character, and then I built all the supporting characters, but then I added in historical characters, so that, again, very similar to Dan Brown, when you're reading his type of work, you don't know, what is fact from fiction, and that's what was so fun about the process.
Wow, that sounds so amazing, and I could relate because when I read Dan Brown's novel Da Vinci Code, it actually inspired me actually to write novel as well. And you remember that I actually wanted to write a fiction, and
Yes.
that is still on my goal, on my list. And I'll definitely, I think, get in touch with you when I'll write my fiction. And I think that's so fascinating that how those stories in our mind come into life when you put it in the fiction. And sometimes I feel that I love fiction actually more than the non-fiction books. But when you give the message through fiction, I think the message is taken very I mean, it's well taken most of the time because it's not just theoretical or something. So, what is your experience on this? If you compare your books from the fiction and the non-fiction, which one were well taken by the audience?
Well, I I like to write both. I really do. And I think there's two distinct audiences. So I don't know of anyone who read my nonfiction books that have read my fiction books, other than, say, family members, right? So when you write, I think you're writing for a specific audience.
Uh,
And I guess it's somewhat unique to have people that write fiction and nonfiction. I prefer writing fiction because you could create your own world. You
Yeah.
create everything about it. The challenge becomes, where do you stop, and where do you cut it off? Because
Yeah.
it could keep going and going and going. So, but I enjoy it much more from a creative standpoint, and that, you may wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea and jot it down. And that may happen too with nonfiction. But to me, when you're writing fiction, there's a lot of tapping into your, as my writing coach calls it, the creative unconscious. So your subconscious mind is working with you even as you're sleeping, as you're working, as you're, going about your day. So, I keep, notes on my cell phone and a
Mhm.
notepad by my bed, because you never know when ideas are going to come, because they
Yeah.
could, leave us just as fast.
Yeah, I know. And so I assume that you like writing fiction more than nonfiction, right? Is that correct?
I do. I mean, I still enjoy writing nonfiction, because when I'm writing nonfiction, it's typically for, you know, a reason of purpose of wanting to get a message out, whether it's a self-help book or business related or writing articles or whatever it may be.
Mhm,
So I still enjoy that. But if I were to compare,
mhm.
I really enjoy the fiction a
Yes,
lot, but it is
definitely.
more difficult. It's more challenging for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, so just like coming back to the same question. So, what do you think that was it? Which ones are well taken? Do you think that, like, like if you see that if you put the book, a non-fiction book out, was it like well taken more, or non or fiction were the one easy to actually? I would say that to create hype, or it easy to create more demand for this. Which books were easy?
Yeah, I would say the fiction book has done better to date. It's only been 6 months.
Hmm.
It received more traction, but I probably did a little bit more promotion as well.
Mhm.
What I notice about the nonfiction books that have been out for years now, people are still buying them years
Mhm.
later. Um,
Mhm.
but I would say the fiction is, even though it's a more competitive industry, especially
Mhm.
I'm in the mystery thriller genre.
Yeah.
It, for whatever reason, whether it's timing or whatnot, the fiction
Yeah.
book has caught on a little bit sooner.
Yeah. 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 I mean, this is one of my favorite genre as well. So I will actually, I haven't started reading it, but definitely I will. It was on my list because actually I've, as you know, I've started my PhD and everything. So a lot of work is already there. But I love fiction, and your genre is, of course, my favorite one. So I'll definitely start reading it
Thank you.
soon.
It's
Yeah.
also on audiobook, and what I
Oh,
like
that's good.
about the audiobook is that I hired a professional narrator, and he's amazing. And to me, he took the book to another level. So because of
Wow.
his accents and, he does all these wonderful voices, it just brought it to life. So I also,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're an audiobook listener, but
Oh, yes.
it is available on audiobook as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I am definitely an audiobook listener because I mean, I love reading the book hard copy. But the thing is that as life goes on and lots of things going, like then first I like to read the book as hard copy, then I move to the digital one. Like even like when my kids were young, I was reading the book on my phone, on my computer, whenever I got the chance. And now I moved to Audible, so like it's like I'm doing a bit of the multitasking. Like sometimes when like let's say like I'm cooking or something which doesn't require that kind of intelligence or some focus, so I can listen to so many books. It helped me finish so many books which were on my list through this listening. So I'll definitely go in. So I got this one question from Marlene that how do you feel about creative nonfiction?
Creative nonfiction. Yes. No, it's we have authors that write creative nonfiction, and I think it's a really good way to express the concept or the idea. And there's certain readers that prefer that. So absolutely, it's a really niche, but I think growing genre with a growing
Mhm,
audience, and
mhm.
I do. I do like it.
Yeah, that's true. So I want to ask you that, especially you are a publisher and you publish a lot of books. So how do you actually balance the creative part and the commercial part? What do you think? It can be balanced, it can go together, or it can be compromised?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So I think it depends on the individual and what their skill set is. So
Mhm.
some of our authors want nothing to do with the marketing. They just want to rely on a company like ours to do that for them, and then they'll focus on the creative aspect. Others are business people and they want to be involved, and they may do their own social media like you do very well,
Mhm.
and they so it really depends. It's not a one size fits all. We really focus in on the author and what their needs are, what their goals are, and what their skill set is. And if
Mhm.
they want to participate and be part of that strategy, then absolutely. Then we work it all together. If they would rather us handle it from soup to nuts, then no problem. We're able to do that too. So yeah, it's really based on the individual author. And then I think when it comes to marketing a book,
Yes.
there's so many different directions you could go in. So you have to be careful, because if you're not careful, you could waste a lot of money. So we have a
Yeah.
strategy where I like to say, crawl, walk, run. Just start out easy. You don't have to do anything crazy out of the gate, but you want to keep the book in front of people. You want to be doing things on a regular basis. And over time, the book should build upon itself. And,
Mhm.
you know, I try to practice what I preach. So for my own book, my goal, day one was, after a year, my goal is to have 500 reviews on the book. Reviews are
Mhm.
really important
Yes.
to a book. So I'm about 6 months in and I just went over 250. So I'm
Wow.
right about on target, but it takes work to get it there, and
Mhm.
to continue to engage that book with different readers from, whether it's through Amazon or through Facebook or through Barnes and Noble, getting the book in different outlets so that you could, broaden your audience.
Mhm. That sounds wonderful. Like, having 500 reviews and like within 6 months, if you got like a 250 plus, which is actually really great number. So how do you manage to get these reviews?
So we have a process of, different things that we do. I believe we did what we call the bestseller promotion for your book, way back when. We have this bestseller promotion, and one of the hardest things for me to understand and to um, really get my arms around as an author was that you have to give as many books away for free as possible. And I'm
Yeah,
talking about the digital ebook.
yeah.
And when you do that, really good things happen. People write reviews. People may go in and buy a paperback or hardcover or the audiobook version. They may
Hmm.
tell a family or friend about the book. So with my fiction book, my new book that came out 6 months ago, I've been giving a lot of books away for
Wow.
free. That contributes 100% to the number of reviews. And
Hmm.
you can't do it just once. I'm doing it, every other
Hmm.
month. I'm giving away 1,000 or 2,000 digital ebooks to be able to
Hmm.
get the word out there.
Wow, I think that's really a good advice that how we can actually. But the other thing is that like you need to have that audience who really are willing to actually read the book. That's also one big thing that because you need to offer your book to the right audience. Otherwise, they'll sit on it and they will do nothing,
Yeah, they
right?
do. But I always tell my authors and my clients as well, it has to be a great book. It starts there. If it's not a great
Yes.
book, if you don't
Yeah.
feel it's a great book, then probably the reader's not going to feel it's a great book. So instead of rushing it, take the time to ensure that it's as good as you could do it, and then have professionals do the editing and whatnot and the formatting to ensure that it's a great reader experience. But it starts there. If it's a great book, then
Yeah.
when you do give it away for free, and to your point, going after the right target audience, then you're setting yourself up for success.
Yes, I think I love that advice. Marlene is asking that how do you and Roger use your book to impact expertise? So,
Impact expertise.
yeah, I mean, I think she might. What I think is that she's asking that how you can build your expertise through the book. I think so. Is that correct, Marlene? You can just say, yeah. But I think you can just answer this question in that perspective, I guess.
Yeah, look, and again, fiction, nonfiction, it's a bit different. With nonfiction, absolutely, especially, no matter what field you're in. And I received some advice a long time ago from an author that I followed, and he said, no matter what field you're in, it doesn't matter. If you write, whether it's writing articles or writing a book, and you're willing to do the research and share information with people, you
Yeah,
become an authority within your industry. So I took that to heart. Again, I told you
yeah,
early on, my background is in customer
yeah,
loyalty. I wrote a book on customer loyalty. So I
yeah.
learned everything I could and put my own experiences into it. And yes, you become an authority within that field where
Mhm,
people, respect that. And
mhm.
so I think no matter whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, when you're writing fiction, I think you're looked upon as someone who understands, that whatever particular subject matter you're writing about.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity, coincidentally, when my book came out. It's a Vatican thriller,
Yeah.
so the Pope had just passed away, and
Mhm.
they were electing a new Pope. So timing wise, the news reached out to me and wanted to have me on the news to talk about that.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you indirectly become an authority somewhat within your
Yeah.
field based on real life experiences.
Yeah. I think this Felix is asking that can you help a startup? So I think yes. You just need to get in touch with Roger on his LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes, we
Right.
we yeah, we help. So authors come to us at every stage that you can imagine. People that haven't started yet, we have a mentorship program. People that have written their first draft, we could help them get it to the final draft. Or people that have already had it edited and now want to get it published. So it really doesn't matter the stage. Our company or companies like us, love helping authors bring their books to life.
Yes, I think you will definitely love the way Roger works with authors. I can vouch for that because I know that, I like when I was writing my book, I had written my first draft, like few chapters I've written, but the way you helped me tailored each and everything was remarkable. So
It
yes,
was fun. I remember we
yeah,
would meet on Saturdays like this.
yes,
We would
yes,
brainstorm and come up with the ideas and then the outline, and then you started writing, and you
yes.
did such a wonderful job.
Thank you so much. Yes. So just tell us a bit about that. Educate our authors who are listening. That uh, what is the process of from writing a draft to publishing? So maybe if you can just break down and just give a little bit of outline that what is the process.
Sure. So the most important piece is the editing process, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Making sure that, again, I talked about it earlier, the manuscript is as good as it can be. And it starts with having a professional team behind you that do this for a living. So a lot of our authors will say, well, I had my sister-in-law edit the book. She's a professor at the university, and that's fine, but we would consider that a first draft edit, not
Yeah.
not a true edit. So editors that do this for a living is different than someone who may be an English teacher, for example. So
Yeah.
my advice is to seek out a professional editor. And that's the very first thing we do in the process. Once it goes through editing and it goes back and forth, maybe several times to the author until the manuscript is complete. While we're working on the editing, we're also working on the book cover. So a separate
Yeah.
team of people putting together the front cover, the back cover, the description, that'll go in on your listing on Amazon, the keywords, the categories. There's all these things that are important from a searchability standpoint that we're doing on the back end for you. And then, once the manuscript is ready, then it goes into formatting. So we format the book for the ebook, paperback, and hardcover. We do those 3 versions. And we are a hybrid publisher. So what that means is we like to give the author the best of both worlds. You have a publisher, so the ISBN number, which is that number on the back of the book, that would be through American Real Publishing, our company. But the actual listing is uploaded through the author's personal account. So any book sales go directly to the author. There's no middleman in between. And that way, because we charge a service fee for our services, you can recoup your investment, that much quicker when you receive 100% of the rights and royalties. The next thing is distribution. Where are you going to distribute the book?
Yeah.
We have a dual track. We do Amazon, of course, because it's the largest bookstore in the world, as well as a company called Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark will get the book to Barnes & Noble, to Walmart, this is in the US, of course, to companies like Target, independent booksellers, but it's also worldwide. So if you live in Canada or Australia or wherever, those bookstores can order through Ingram Spark to bring that inventory in or to offer it online. So it's, editing, design, interior design, formatting, putting the listing up, and then distribution.
Yeah, I mean, this is a long, I think this is a lengthy process, and I think it's very important. Most of the time when I usually get queries from the author, most of the author work to create the book. So they create the book, but then they don't know what is next. So they don't know about the editing part, and the most difficult part for most of the authors is marketing. So could you also tell us about that, how to market the book?
Sure. We have our best practices when it comes to marketing, but again, everyone is in a different situation. So someone that may not have the means to do a whole marketing campaign, we have we have something for those folks. Other folks are maybe in the middle where they'll do a little bit more, and then you have people that want to do a lot. But so the whole idea is to keep the book, as I mentioned earlier, in front of people on a regular basis. If you don't do that, then the book just kind of falls by the wayside and people can't find it, right? Unless they're looking for you specifically. So the whole idea is to get new readers. So we have, as I mentioned, all kinds of promotions that we run, finding these different target audiences of people that are out there. Things like Amazon advertising, it's a really good strategy if you know what you're doing to reach readers on Amazon that are buying similar books. So, we've all seen it. You're on Amazon buying a book. There'll be another book next to it where Amazon will say, if you like that book, you might like this book too. And it's just a numbers game. When your book shows up in front of enough people, they will click on it. And again, hopefully there's some good reviews and they're willing to make that investment. So when it comes to marketing, yes, it can be intimidating because there's so many different concepts out there. But, companies like ours have a strategy. And if you follow it, it's very consistent.
Yeah, I think, that's, of course, the marketing, when it comes to marketing, as you mentioned in the beginning also, there are so many directions you can choose. There's no one size fits all. It can be anything, but it all depends that the one thing that I really see is that, as you mentioned, that we need to keep the book alive and keep reaching to the new readers, because if your book is down and nobody sees it, then the entire point of writing the book goes down. So I think that is one thing that I keep also telling a lot of people who come to me seek advice about that, how to write a book or how to market the book. They should not compromise at least on marketing, because if if nobody knows about the book, there's no point of actually writing a book. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think there's a big misconception out there in general from authors that, oh, I have a publisher, they are going to market my book for me.
yeah,
It may have worked that way, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but today it is so competitive that even really, really good authors who have previously been published by large publishers, call it Random House or Penguin or Simon and Schuster, they're very, very selective today. So they're really only publishing books and marketing books that they know will have a return. People aren't
yeah,
taking as many risks.
yeah.
So, and then people say, well, I want my book in the bookstore.
Mhm.
Well, the bookstore, the shelves on a bookstore is similar to the shelves in a grocery store. When you go into a grocery store and you see all those, products on that shelf, the reason they're there is because those brands are buying the shelf space. Same in
Yeah,
the publishing world. The large publishers and other smaller independent publishers, they're basically buying that shelf space. So when the new books come out, they go in the store. So it's a very difficult and competitive landscape. But again, there's a place for everyone, and a lot can be done online, and that's what we really encourage people, because that's how you reach the most people with the biggest bang for your buck.
yes, absolutely. I think you're just absolutely very right that, it's like the bookstore is also like a grocery store because there are different brands. And one thing that I would really like to point out that the book cover is the first interaction of any like of your audience to your book. So I think it has to be catchy. It has to convey the right message about your book, and it has to be attractive. Otherwise, like people will never pick up the book. So I think they always say that never judge the book by its cover, but it's actually not true. I mean, everybody judges the book by its cover.
I agree. And it's the one, you have a very limited time, whether someone's in a bookstore or looking at the book at a small thumbnail online, you just have a fraction of a second to capture their attention. So
Yeah,
title, visuals, colors, all those things are really important. And that's what companies like us, that's what we help our authors with is, they may come to us and say, oh, I already have a book cover, but we're going to be very honest. It might be a great book cover, but if it's not, we're going to let them know, look, here's what
yeah,
we would change and here's why, just
yeah.
to explain to them that it's really important that book cover is catchy and the title is short and that that is visually appealing.
Yes, absolutely. There's another question by Marlene. That, do you recommend publishing book internationally?
So great question, Marlene. Yes. So the nice thing again about Amazon and Ingram Spark is that they're worldwide. So when we publish the book, by default, it is going worldwide. So there's no extra cost for that or anything like that. The whether someone lives in Canada or Brazil or Australia, wherever it is, they will also be able to see your listing through say Amazon.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. I want to ask that now AI has taken over a lot, right?
Yep.
So especially the editing, the book covers, and all of these things, even the audio books that can be done through AI. So, what is your stance on AI? That is it okay to go through it? Even translations are done through AI. What do you think?
Yeah, it's
What
a
should be the balance? Yeah.
it's a fine line, I think, in this space, in that we have to embrace technology as it comes, because, and especially this one, it's coming faster than any other that we've experienced in our lifetimes. But you also have to be careful. Let's break a couple of them down. First, audiobook. I do not think AI is ready for audiobooks. It's still very robotic. There's some out there that I've heard that are getting better, and the big players like Amazon, who owns Audible, they're also embracing it and they're changing the rules. 2 years ago they would never allow an AI narrator. Today they're actually encouraging it. So you have to embrace the technology, but I also think that as the author or the artist of your book, you want to be very particular about how that is, what type of voice you're going to use for that audiobook.
Yeah.
So AI, I don't think it's there yet for audio. It may be in a year from now or 2 years from now, who knows. Editing, absolutely not. We have all humans that edit the books. Now, you as the author, you may want to use some AI for your own purposes of getting the book in good shape. Definitely, I don't encourage having the entire book written by AI, by all means.
Yes.
But if you go paragraph by paragraph and you're just trying to get the grammar right and sentence structure,
Yeah.
that's fine. Be proactive, utilize some of the tools that are out there. But editing for sure, absolutely not. It can, at least at this stage, from what I understand, and our team understands, it's not ready for editing. And
Yeah.
then cover design, there's probably some good tools out there that can be utilized for cover design. So I would say, yeah, out of those three, I would embrace cover design with AI for sure. Again, as long as it's not, if that's the look you're going after. If you know
Yeah.
if you don't want it that way, then I wouldn't go in that direction. But
Mm.
it can be very useful for people
Yeah.
that are going that angle.
Yeah. So Marlene is asking again, how long should the title be?
In my opinion, as short as possible. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, you know, one word, great. Two or three
Yes.
words, okay. I would not go more than 5 words, but there's going to be exceptions to everything. If you could keep
Yeah.
it short and sweet, to me, that's preferred for a lot of reasons. People remember that. It's easy to tell someone else if you're going to buy a URL for that book. It's nice and short. So my writing coach used to tell me, and this is with everything, keep things as short and as marvelous as possible. So that's what
Yeah.
we encourage people to do.
Yes. So just tell us that what one mistakes authors do when like writing a book or publishing a book.
Moving too fast. To
Ah.
me, everyone's, you're so excited to get your book out there and you've put all this work into it. So the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, is rush it. Don't rush it,
Mhm.
because what happens is, and this, it happens all the time, our authors will publish the book and then 2 weeks later they'll come back and say, oh, can I make changes?
Mhm.
Yes, you can make changes. You could always make changes, but it's going to be costly. And, the author's going to have to pay for the changes. We have to pull the team off of another project to focus on theirs. So, it's just, in my opinion, better to take a little bit more care and time, make sure that it's as good as it could be before you publish. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing that came to mind is,
Yeah.
don't rush things.
Yeah. I think there's a one comment is AI can help to write books. You can speak with AI and AI will write everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to bash AI at all. We have to embrace it as a technology. I'm just saying, from my experience as a writer, the creative process is the fun part of it.
Yeah.
I often will talk to people and they'll say, "Are you a ghostwriter? Can you write the book for me?" Well, yeah, I could probably write the book for you. I don't want to. That's not my expertise. There are ghostwriters out there. They do that for a living. But to me, and Ambreen, because you went
Yes.
through it, when you do it yourself,
Yes.
just the level of satisfaction is at all-time high, because
Yes.
you're producing this wonderful work. But to get
Yes.
back to the question, yes, you can utilize AI strategically. If it helps you get you started, and if you need that boost, then I think it's absolutely fine.
Yes, yes. I mean, I absolutely love the process of writing because each and everything or each and every moment of writing is it's so precious. I mean, like I've spent 20 years, and in all those 20 years, as you said, that like I was writing down my ideas, noting down, and see that how it can link with everything. So it's amazing. I think the process is like if you are an author, if you want to become an author, then you must experience this. So I completely agree with you on this part.
Yeah.
So I know like this topic is really vast and we can go on, but the time is short. So before we actually close the show, what one piece of advice would you like to give to the author to be a successful author, I would say?
Yeah, I would say, look, the thing is, you have to go with your instincts all the way through. And what I mean by that is when you're writing your manuscript, you'll know when the book is done. You'll know if it's good enough, right? So that's the first step is when you're working on that, make sure you're getting that manuscript as good as it could be. And then, the success follows from there. So who are you choosing as your partner, or are you going to self-publish? That people can self-publish today. Many people self-publish today, and that's absolutely fine. But just know that if you're not a professional and you don't do this every single day, there's probably things that a team can help you with to ensure greater success for that book, right? So think long and hard about that. Like, do I want to self-publish, or do I want to hire a company to help me? Or do I want to take it to the extreme where I want to try to get it traditionally published, where you would send in query letters and see if a traditional publisher would pick it up? Or maybe you hire an agent. So don't cut yourself short in that period as well. And then, as we talked about earlier, to your point, when the book is done, I say when the asset is built and you're able to actually hold it and now market it, be very strategic about how you market, and ensure that you're putting enough into it. You've taken all this time to write the book, so now be sure to put the necessary investment into getting the book out there so people can enjoy it. And I think if you think about it in those ways through the different phases of the process, you're setting yourself up for success. But it definitely comes down to, I think, selecting the right team. And that's why we started our company, because I had a hard time finding a good publishing partner. And that's what we try to be, is that publishing partner for our clients.
Yes, I think you are amazing mentor, and you helped me a lot in publishing the book. So I think that those who are really first time write authors, or who want to become an author, I highly recommend that you get in touch with Roger Brooks. And so, what is the best way to get in touch with you? I know you're on LinkedIn, and any other.
Yes, LinkedIn, or you could go right to my website, thesacredorder.com, and you could reach me
Okay.
through there, or LinkedIn, that's fine too. Or you could go to our publishing website, which is AmericanRealPublishing.com.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's easy to reach out. I know you're very active on LinkedIn as well, or they can reach to the website, which is also very good. So, anyways, thank you so much for your insights. It was really like wonderful to connect with you after a long time and learn a lot more about how to write, how to publish a book. I'm sure our audience have learned a lot. And thanks to Marlene and all those people who joined today and shared their comments and questions to keep our conversation more lively. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Amber, and thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.